Quebec's minimum wage is now $16.60, up 50 cents compared to last year. The province says the new threshold respects all guidelines, including Canada's official measure of poverty. The market basket measure takes into account the cost of food, housing, clothing, transportation, and other necessities like household items. But some say even with the increase, it isn't nearly enough to lift people out of poverty.
You can't live with the minimum wage.
My grandmother had to lend me some money, but yeah, it was definitely a hard time, I'd say, of working, spending all my time and energy and just not to get anything in return.
Yes, many holding down minimum wage jobs are students and young adults, but it isn't temporary for everyone. Out of almost 200,000 Quebecers receiving minimum wage in 2025, about 66% were under the age of 25. Many others were in their 40s and 50s. Many were seniors. More than half were women.
Minimum wage keeps you in poverty. The minimum wage, if you work full-time at minimum wage, you cannot get out of poverty.
The Institut de Recherche et d'Information Socio-Économique says $16.60 an hour isn't enough to help people improve their quality of life. In a recent study, the Quebec think tank found that a single person living in Montreal needs to earn about $30 an hour, not only to cover their basic needs, but to also have enough savings for unforeseen expenses, go on vacation, enjoy cultural activities, or take classes.
When you're under the poverty line, if you have the time and the money to spend on education, that helps you to get into the middle class, to get to a financial security.
The study says a couple with 2 kids would need almost $89,000 a year to get out of poverty in Montreal. An advocacy group representing about 40 community organizations working to fight poverty says the minimum wage remains unacceptable.
C'est condamner ces gens-là à la pauvreté. Ce sont des gens qui vont devoir aller dans des banques alimentaires, qui vont avoir de la difficulté à se payer des médicaments.
Petitclerc says a person who's lived on a low salary most of their life ends up with a small pension, so they will continue to experience poverty until their old age. He also says it can be a generational issue because kids whose parents have low income can end up with fewer opportunities to access higher education. Quebec's Labour Minister says the province has a strong social safety net to help those with low income, and that setting a minimum wage is about striking a balance.
We are doing enough to increase the purchasing power of the people who receive the minimum wage and in conformity with the paying capacity, with the capacity of the small and medium-sized businesses in this very difficult economic context.
For me, myself, if I have a minimum wage job full-time, even if I have overtime, I can't even bear everything. Imagine if I have a family.
I felt like it wasn't enough for me, to drive to work, I had to put gas. At the end of the day, you're left with almost nothing. So I don't think it's fair for someone who has to feed kids.
Advocates say higher salaries are just part of the solution. They say fiscal and policy changes are also needed to make essentials more affordable.